The main reason to use a mind mapping tool like Mindomo and not use a diagramming tool like Visio or the online tool which is the equivalent of Visio, which is called Lucidchart, is that you want to have a way to rearrange the layout without you doing all the work. And what you have seen till now, as you can see, the way I have created this bot, even now you've seen that I just keep adding children into the tree, and you can see that it automatically does all the reformatting for you. So I did not have to move the node from, drag it from one place to the other to get this structure to look like this. I could just concentrate on typing out the conversation flowchart, and it was able to render it in a mostly visually pleasing format, which you can see in front of you right now. But you can actually do more things with this, and as you keep editing the flowchart, which I'm going to do shortly, you will find that it becomes even more important, because the worst thing with the tools like Visio and Lucidchart isn't just the initial rendering of the flowchart. It is that once the flowchart has already become complicated, adding new nodes in the center of it is just even much harder. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So what I'm going to do here is, the first thing I'm going to do to improve this flowchart is going to be, I'm going to add numbers to each intent. And this numbering scheme, the main reason I do that is because it just makes it much easier to copy the intent information over, and also make sure that you don't miss anything out, which is, of course, missing out is, I would say, is the bigger problem. So this kind of numbering will ensure that you do have all the intents reflected in your agent, because there's no use in making sure you put it inside the flowchart, and then if you forget to actually copy it over into your Dialogflow agent, of course the bot isn't going to work as you expect, right? So what we have is 9. You can see that there are 9 intents in this particular Dialogflow agent. Okay, the other thing I'm going to do, which is sort of a convention I like to follow, is make all these a specific shape, and I'm going to tell you why very soon. So I'm going to make all these the rounded rectangular shape, this one. Okay, so you can see if I click out, you can see that they've all been changed to the same shape as this one, and this is because with this the flowchart is not yet complete. I mean, it's not yet in a state where we can easily translate it into Dialogflow. What you need to do after this is also define the input and output contexts. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add the context information into the flowchart. So the way I do that is I call this context name based on what is the information that it's expecting. So here it's expecting an answer for whether it is a voice bot or not. So I'm going to call it await_voice bot. And I'm also going to change the shape to be an ellipse. Okay, so that will immediately allow us to distinguish between this shape, which is the context shape, and this shape, which is the intent shape. And then what you have to do is you have to move this particular intent as a child of this particular context, because that is how we are simulating the follow-up intent tree which you would otherwise have created. So I'm just going to do a Control X and Control V, and the same here. So notice that just by doing these 2 steps, that is the cut and paste into the child of this particular node, I was able to reformat the entire tree. And I can tell you that this is much harder if you were to use a diagramming tool like Visio. Anyway, so there you go. You have this first context has been set. We don't need a context for this because this is the end of the conversation, but this is going to expect answer for pure FAQ bot. So let's make it into that and change this to ellipse and copy paste this, cut and paste it rather, and that's, so this is done. So we don't need to do anything here, and here it's going to await slot filling, right? So let's change this to ellipse And then we have only one more, which is await follow-up. So you can also notice that as we are doing this, you can also notice one more thing, which is that the name of the context is more or less matching the name of whatever comes after that in the intent. So this is all just conventions which makes it simple and consistent so that you can easily translate this into a Dialogflow ES agent. So what I have now is a completed flowchart, and the next step is to actually go into Dialogflow, and you will find that you don't have to do a lot of work to translate this into an actual bot at this point, because most of the work has already been done for you in the form of the flowchart.